Hi, welcome back to the Jack and Glenn channel. I'm Jackie.
And I'm my husband, Glenn.
Yep, he's my husband, Glenn.
Hey, before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of our reviews. Tonight we're reviewing the one, episode number 13. They get to choose the one. They get to
supposedly.
Supposedly. Anyway, let's get started.
Well, we see the episode opening up with Brent and Ashley talking about, coming down to the wire. She said she was feeling good about it. He said he's kind of been in his head about it, been overthinking, but overall he's feeling good. There's some nervousness. That's a feeling that he's not usually like that, but he's nervous because they have to pick the one. So
right.
We see Ashley, Jay, and Richie, who are the last two left. They both talk to each other. Yeah, I feel like I'm at peace, with whatever he chooses. Richie says, either way, whichever one of us he picks, he's gonna win. And they both kind of get choked up because, throughout the time, the women have kind of built the bond, the guys have built the bond, they've cross-pollinated and built bonds.
Cross-pollinated?
Yep.
Okay.
I said it on purpose, and built bonds with the guys and girls, And so Matthew came in and he joins them. And, he says, I feel like she's been slipping and pulling away lately. And, he was like, basically I'm stressed. And bruh pours himself a glass of red wine.
And I'm sitting here thinking like, this bro gonna wait till the last episode to drink, to let everybody know that Brian was telling the truth, that he do be drinking.
I was like, what's the point? He like got it. He's like smelling it, like, and then Addie comes in and he gives it to Addie.
Yeah.
He's like, man, I'm about to say you can ready to drink. He was like, nah, man, I feel like drinking. I'm not gonna drink though. I was like,
I ain't gonna do it.
I feel like this. Just a side note. If Matthew was faking that he don't be drinking, I feel like he would have drank right there, like for real.
He got a lot of willpower. All the drinking that was going on in that house.
I feel like he wouldn't have had like. But anyway, so Ashley was like, she likes both guys equally. It's hard to decide. This is what Addie and Matthew are talking about. Matthew is thinking about all that he could have said or done. If Ashley picks Addie, make sure you take care of her. And he said, if she ever needs anything, he'll be there for her. I even told Ashley I love her. I was like, you doing the most, sir. You doing the absolute most.
He in for it, yo. She was doing the most with him at the beginning. She's always been doing the most with him though. Like, why wouldn't he say he feel that? Why wouldn't he say he's in love?
He didn't say he was in love. He said he loved her.
He said he loved her. Sorry. Why wouldn't he say that?
He said, I've never said it this fast before. I wouldn't be here if there wasn't genuine love between us. So, I didn't feel bad saying, and I was just still like, dude, you're doing the most. But anyway, we see Tammy and Kirk come in.
All the kissing she was doing for him, though.
I know. Tammy and Kirk come in with Dr. Sherry. We've seen Dr. Sherry before. And she was like, oh yeah, we're bringing Dr. Sherry in. We'll make sure you ain't crazy. It's a little late for that, but they all joke. And
a little late.
She was like, no, I just coming in and talk to you. Want you to be the best person you can be. And so Dr. Sherry asked Richie, why do you want to be the one? Richie was like, I think I deserve it. I've done the prep work. And Dr. Sherry's like, but what else? That sounds good. But what else? Richie was like, look, I finally met him. I didn't expect to have the kind of connection that we have or to be picked, with Ashley J. Ashley says, I feel like I'm the one. I kind of put it in my rap for the talent show. It's been an intrinsic and internal journey, to get to my true self. Addie says he feels like he's the one because, the journey has progressed. It started off slow, but the more he got to know her, the more he wanted to know about her, and how they put forth the efforts, even when
he was in Africa, wherever he went to.
Matthew says, after I had a conversation with Ashley, you know, I prayed about it, and if it's, you know, if she's who I'm supposed to be with, then it'll be that way. You know, he said I've always gone after what I want and made decisions for myself, and so he said, coming to the place where I feel like I could be the one, I realize I can't just make a decision for myself. I have to make it with somebody else in mind.
Somebody else in mind. I mean, that's the thing. And it wasn't, I didn't think that he was just taking that for being someone else being Ashley, but I think it was also taking that for someone else being his daughter. Mm-hmm. He had to make decisions for him and her, because if this is supposed to be a long-term thing or a thing that's supposed to last long, it needs to work out.
Mm-hmm. Then we see Dr. Sherry meet with Brent and Ashley separately. She meets with Brent first. How's he doing? He said, I'm doing good overall. You know, there have been some challenges along the way. I just want to pick someone that I can see myself for the long term. And Dr. Sherry said, so what have been your issues? Let's look at trust. And Brent was like, yeah, trust is important. I know it's a pillar of a good relationship. And so Dr. Sherry's like, well, do you have a hard time trusting? And he says, you know, I do. Mm-hmm. You know, they talk about, you know, a man's supposed to be a provider, and he doesn't know what either one of their financial situations are. And Dr. Sherry's like, hold on. We're at the point where you are picking the one and you haven't talked about finances.
You should have been. What have you been doing? That's what I was like, yo, what have y'all been doing all the time? Y'all in this house every day.
Just looking in each other's face.
24/7. And those are conversations that y'all supposed to have.
Just looking in each other's
face. Like,
face.
you and Ashley J having that conversation. Y'all been at dinner. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? Y'all done hung out. You and Richie, she done massaged your back. Y'all in the bed together. And you hadn't said, ask her, what's your finances like?
Same old Brent, just running off that physical attraction.
Different show. Same Brent, different show.
I know. So Dr. Sherry's like, you haven't talked about that. Is it important to you? And Brent was like, you know, I just think it's understood. What? Dr. Sherry's like, okay, so do you think, are you the type of person, do you talk about things up front, or you just let it unfold? And he was like, I think certain topics need to be talked about up front, you know, like kids or whatever. Like, no, Brent, you need to talk about that too. Finances. Dr. Sherry's like, hey, what are your expectations with sex? He was like, yeah, that needs to be discussed too. And she's like, okay, you haven't talked about sex.
And you haven't talked about money.
You haven't talked about finances. Like, why? What's kept you from talking about it? He was like, you know, it's kind of awkward. I don't want it to come back and bite me. You know,
you were hot and bothered, and you Ashley J was kissing at dinner, and it should have came up.
It's just chemistry. And Dr. Sherry was like, you know, if you don't talk about it up front and you make assumptions, them assumptions can come back and bite you in the tail. So you might want to find out what's what.
If it did what it do.
You know, because then what if your assumptions don't come true in a relationship? And then you be feeling like, oh, wait, did I pick the one? Because you didn't cover those things.
Or do I got to leave? You know, we know you're a runner.
Like, what are you picking the one based on? And Brent was like, you know, in his vignette, he was like, you know, you can't tiptoe around certain questions. You know, you have to get to the hard, specific questions. And, you know, I just think it's a time and place for all of that. And where would that be?
Like, you're on your last couple of hours. This is the day. This is the day. That's how I kept looking at the show like, yo, dog, this is the day. And you're down the final two. And you haven't asked none of the right questions.
And I
know
questions. This is some of the things that Tammy and Kirk was trying to get him to focus on when they were like, you know, basically do it different. Mm-hmm. You know, how you've been going. I want to see a different Brent show up. And he did a little bit, but no, bro, you got to talk about this. What do you do for a living? Because I feel like even if you don't tell me exactly what you make, if you tell me what you do for a living, I can kind of figure it out.
I can figure it out. I can Google it.
Do you have any student loan debt? How much do you have? Did you actually use the degree you went to school for? All of that. Oh, Lord have mercy.
That don't matter.
It does matter, because if you spend a lot of money on school and you're not using the degree that you went to school for, and you got to pay back those student loans, like, that was a waste.
Yeah,
we're gonna be sitting here paying this money back for a minute.
Well, yeah, but you might have a better profession that makes more money than what you went to school for, and waste that money.
It's still a waste.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it could be the opposite way too.
I just want to know if you're wasteful. That tells me if you're wasteful.
I mean, just
of your degree and your money.
Might that you made a bad decision.
it's still wasteful. It's still wasteful.
Touche.
But anyway, his worry is that it's gonna come too soon, and and having those difficult conversations, that he might run off a person before it's necessary, and
It's
so
not, but
he
that's what
doesn't want to do that.
But that's what the whole process is for. That's what the whole show is about, to figure out if the person could be the one, not just to date, but in every aspect of their life, to be the one. I mean, that's what you should have did. That's what you had. 6 weeks. I don't know. I'm not with this house.
I don't know. I think it's also hard to have those conversations with everybody in the house.
Yeah, but they have private moments.
I know, but you're not spending as much time with each individual person, and then it kind of depends on
You could those
what they're
24
moving.
hours.
I mean, I'm just saying. I'm
Oh.
not saying. But anyway, Dr. Sherry meets with Ashley, and how you feeling? She was like, I'm so glad I let myself go through the process. And Dr. Sherry's like, I know it hasn't been easy. And Ashley's like, no, it hasn't. Okay, her question is, what's important to you in a relationship right now? Ashley says, emotional stability. Dr. Sherry says, well, how do you know they're not emotionally stable? She says, here we go. I wouldn't know if they're not emotionally stable, because in the process I became emotionally unstable.
Right. You should ask.
So I was trying to fix myself and get myself together, and I didn't have a chance to find out if they were. I'm trying to tell you, several of them were.
Yeah, several was unstable.
Just saying.
But she didn't bite the bullet. I mean, she didn't bite the bullet. She spared herself from a couple guys coming to the house.
So Dr. Sherry's like, okay, so that brings us back to in issues of trust. Like, would you go through somebody's phone? And Ashley was like, yeah, I would, and I would discuss what I see with them. It depends on what I see. I would, and they talked about the fact that if you're looking for something,
you'll find
it. And what are you going through the phone for? I'm looking for something that maybe he hasn't told me, because you have trust issues. And she was like with Matthew, I'm thinking maybe he's holding back something, and if I search long enough, I'll find it. Like if she found out that he actually did drink, she would just know that he lies, but they have a connection, and knowing that he lies is like, now I'm questioning the connection.
Yeah, nobody want to be with a liar though.
No.
I mean, you lie. My grandma used to say you lie still. So I guess you're gonna add that to you lie still, you cheat. So.
Dr. Sherry says, what's the absolute one thing that's non-negotiable? What's a deal breaker? And Ashley was like, having sex with someone else, cheating. And
cheating, that's it.
Yeah.
They gotta be though. But most people, cheating is a deal breaker.
Dr. Sherry, last question. I hear you've been beating yourself up. What's that about? And Ashley was like, I honestly don't know. I feel like I haven't been myself in this whole process. I feel like my thoughts are everywhere. It's hard to focus. I've lost the sense of self in this process. And it's real scary because I don't know who I am. And the greatest fear is that I don't know what I'm going to do next. How's life going to end up for me? Because right now she doesn't trust herself or her decisions. Well, good gosh.
Like you shouldn't even be. They might have needed to check her out. See, she was emotionally unstable and had somebody else on the show. Should have casted somebody else because she ain't right. I mean, she ain't ready.
What I was glad to see was that Dr. Sherry didn't just talk to them. She did talk to the four to the left. She talked to Matthew. Okay, what's a non-negotiable, a deal breaker for him is lying. Ashley says, loyalty or lack thereof, and infidelity. Richie said if he has an outside kid, not cheating.
Outside kid.
If he has an outside kid while we're together. And it probably would make it even worse if he have an outside kid and y'all ain't got none. Because Richie don't have any kids and she want to have kids.
That means he can cheat as long as you have no kids. That's what it sounds like to me.
That's what it sounds like to me. Addie is so funny. He said, what's my deal breaker is messed up toes. But that's why I was like, having an outside kid, so you don't care if he cheat. Like, you could forgive that, but because let's be honest. Okay, so cheating is bad, yes.
Cheating is bad.
But what it says when you have an outside kid with somebody is like, you wasn't just cheating with this
Y'all was
person.
dating. Y'all was in a relationship.
Y'all was in a relationship. Like, you got so relaxed, unless you one of them
Polyamorous.
wild people that even in this day and time with STDs that still exist is out there just raw dogging anybody.
Yeah.
But normally it means that you feel very comfortable with this
Do
person.
they say raw dog anymore?
I just said it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that's the new term for it. That's like, I guess. I don't know. I was just checking. We were talking about slang things earlier.
Once you find out.
Oh,
Um, I know they call it not strapping up, but that's old too.
well. Yeah.
But anyway, because me and Janae literally had that conversation earlier. She was telling me about something I tape about it.
All right.
First week of college for our daughter, and her eyes have been opened. Okay. To the way people exist. But anyway, so then we see Richie in the kitchen cooking like a stir fry. For her and Brent was like, what he likes about Richie, she's sweet. She's intelligent, down to earth.
I like Richie. But anyway, go ahead. I like Richie.
She's okay, but a lot of the little shady comments and the little backbiting and the cattiness, I was like, she's sweet to you. Just saying. I don't have no problem with her, but I was just like, man. And I don't want to jump ahead, but yeah, I was like,
yeah.
Ugh. But anyway, she's down to earth. She's always shown me that she had my back. She's sexy, despite what's happened, what she's overheard. That's been negative to the contrary of my character. She's been real with me. They talk about how she's been feeling. She's been overwhelmed. And waiting with anticipation. And he was like, yeah, put some pressure on me, because he's seen their nerves and he's got nerves or whatever.
Yeah.
She fixed him a nice little meal. The one thing I noticed about the meal was, so they had fish and mashed potatoes, and he had asparagus and she had no vegetables.
You're a big vegetable person on a plate.
Your plate has to be balanced.
It is balanced.
If you go to like, and it's not an advertisement, myplate.com, they tell you what should be on your plate, and only a quarter of your plate should be the protein or the carb. Not even a quarter, I don't know, but you don't need that much. Shit, a lot of mashed potatoes, but you should have I read you should have a vegetable with every meal. I'm not necessarily going to have a vegetable with breakfast unless you have an omelet, but anyway, that's a side note.
Okay.
But yeah, that bothered me that she didn't have no vegetables on her plate. And I figured if she didn't like asparagus, she should have fixed something that she liked. But anyway, Britt says, if they leave the process together, how would that look going forward? And Rich was like, I had to figure out, they'd have to figure out how to become one and meet each other in a moment, and both roads, and figure out how to include each other and make each other a priority. So they had a nice little meal. He ate off her plate. I think she was trying to be cute, wouldn't eat her food. He was like, this fish is good. I'm finna eat your fish.
But you go back in the real world. I mean, this house is an experiment. To go into the real world with your normal daily routine, it will be difficult. From the start of the relationship, because that's where you got the false sense of security in this mansion.
Yeah. So then we see all of them in the hot tub later having a conversation about what Dr. Sherry said. Okay, what was the top question? Ashley J was like the non-negotiables, and Addie said, what's one for you? And Brent was like, how a person responds when angry, and can you rationalize with them to bring it down, to calm them down? I was like, wow, okay. Ashley says, tomorrow's the last day. She just wants to bask in a moment. That's been her issue. She's been too busy worrying about the process and going through and about the next day or the next person that, that's how she kind of got out of herself.
She's a warrior.
Addie's concern was about religion. and when and if to have sex. Matthew says that was a hard one for him, talking about the, non-negotiables. He said, and the when or not to have sex or whatever. He said because, he wants to take those extra steps with someone you care about, but you also have to be aware that we're both going through this process. And that's one thing he didn't take account for.
Yeah, the balance.
That, everybody's going through the process and how each person deals with it. Ashley J says, you gotta make sure that you're not glassy eyed, and Ashley's like talking, and she says to the other Ashley, I'm glad you finally showed up. I was glad when you got into a space where it was like, okay, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
You had to, you figured out what you had to do at your own time. And we might have pushed you a little, but you got there. But she was like, I'm just glad you guys probably you showed up. It might have been a little bit later than expected, but you showed up. Addie says, I've seen your comfort level, and so at first he was like, oh, she just loving on Matthew. I don't know if it's a space for me.
But I think when he left, that was where his space came in.
And that's what he said, because Ashley looked shocked when he said it. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying when he left, this absence make the heart grow fonder. So when he left, it made her appreciate him more, because they were doing what normal people do, right? They were talking on the phone. They were doing FaceTime each other. They were doing what normal relationships are. And I think sometimes that separation when you're in a relationship, or that space in a relationship, helps you miss the person a little bit more. In this case, if he went to a wedding, I'm not because you're mad at each other, but most times in your relationship, you go home, you go to your own house, right? You don't move in with the person from day one. And so you have that time to communicate outside of each other's space.
Mm-hmm. So then we see a point where Ashley and Addie are just together, sitting on the couch, kind of just relaxing or whatever. She was like, it's just something about him that makes her want to know more. She doesn't have any reservations about him. He's a great man, honestly. And she said, she feels good and comfortable in his arms. He's sitting there. He's like, I brought you something back from Mexico. It's a handmade journal. And, she said she feels like she could tackle life with Addie.
Yeah.
The way he's with his family and protective of her, she can see herself with him. And when they started this journey, she said, I wanted somebody that was emotionally stable. But now she wants support, like grounding. And she loves that he's level-headed, and she said, in the end, when it comes to my choices, I got one guy that I need and one guy that I want. You figure out which is which.
Do you know what you need, or you what you
want?
If you heard
it, go with what you need.
Okay.
But you do also want him. But what you need.
What you need.
Then we see later, they have a brunch together. Chef come and cook them a brunch. They all feel at peace. They're loving the brotherhood bond that all the guys have. We see Matthew praying over the food. I was like, okay, Deacon Matthew, go ahead.
Matthew.
Then they talk about, when they first came to the mansion, how they were unsure how it went and just how it ended up.
A little black love, black unity.
All of them talked about the fact that in the end, we know that Brent and Ashley will make the best decision for them. Mm-hmm. So, that's fine with them. Ashley said she never thought she'd be there with these two amazing men. Brent thought he had seen it all and done it all, but it's been amazing to be there with these two beautiful women.
And he'll be on another reality show soon.
I hope not. I hope not. That's something that irks me.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. I don't know. The person he picks, I just don't know if it's gonna. We'll go ahead.
Well, we see it come down to the time when they have to actually pick the one.
Yep.
Kirk and Tammy are there, and it's Brent's turn to go first. And he says, as far as Richie, I cherish her, I appreciate her, and all that she's shown me. She's been a rock in the entire process. For Ashley J, she's been a breath of fresh air. Every time they get together, it feels different. It's fun. He appreciates her letting her guards down and giving him the opportunity to get to know her. And then he says, and so I'm going to pick
Drum
Ashley J. I felt like that. I knew he was.
Oh, we knew that from the last time they went on that little date. He was gonna pick Ashley J. He likes Ashley J. And he had a hard time picking her from when her and Mika was there. But when Ashley J came back aboard, you like, you know what? This girl got a second chance. She ready to go.
I knew he was gonna pick her. I just knew it. But
I wouldn't have been mad at Richie. But Ashley J fits the bill, and I think because she has an older son. I think the son.
I mean, to me, Ashley J she's just sweet.
Right.
And just mild mannered. From what we saw, she really just didn't get caught up in the foolishness, the back and forth.
Right.
But Richie just encouraged her. Yeah, you got it, girl. They kind of hug each other, whatever. And in her vignette, Richie was like, I didn't see this coming. I didn't think he was going to eliminate me.
Right.
We were supposed to be a power couple. And, he was just having a hard time choosing.
And he chose. He chose the one he wanted to be with.
Yeah. Ashley J says she's excited to start dating and courting and see where it goes. And Tammy says she could see that Ashley pushes Brent. And, she has a son that's outside of his comfort zone. But like you said, I think that choice was easy for him because it's an older son.
His older son.
And you don't really have that to contend with. He's kind of like already in his personality. He got to meet him. He's not one of them hater type kids,
right.
So then Ashley goes next. It's her turn to pick. She said, I started this journey with an open heart and an open mind. And although these two men are different, I can see myself with both of them. Addie, we bonded over our love for family. And when you FaceTimed me from the wedding, it showed how important I was to you.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're always laughing and he helps me feel protected. With Matthew, they connected early on and it scared her how much they connected, from the beginning. And even when she ran away from her problems,
the one day ran away,
she ran to him with her problems.
Yeah, because he had to listen there. He was there.
And she said, I'm grateful for both of them. And so when it came down in the end, Ashley's pick was
herself. Yeah, I was mad. I ain't saying a lot to you. I was upset. I'm like, why did I watch this?
You're not gonna pick nobody.
Like, we watched those things, you gonna pick yourself. And everybody like it was cool with it. I would have been mad inside. So we went through all this. You eliminated all these other brothers just for you to pick yourself. Come on, dog. TV one, we got to do better.
No, Ashley need to do better. But she was like, this journey taught me that before I could pursue a relationship with somebody else or either one of them, I have to pursue my relationship with God. I lost myself in the process. And Addie says, I respect her choice. Matthew was like, I'm so happy for her. I'm speechless. Right. And, in the end, she gets what she needs and they all win because she comes out a better person. They have experienced each other.
And they don't get in a relationship, they're going to fall apart. And it's just, I don't know. If you're on the show, I
was mad.
Pick the one. Pick somebody. You choose you out of all this. I was mad. I ain't saying a lot to you. It's like, that's why I play soccer. Because I think there should be a winner and loser and everything. And Matthew should have won, and Adi should have lost, or Adi should have won, or Matthew should have lost. Either way, I was cool. Whoever she picked, I was cool either way.
But just pick.
Just pick.
Yeah, but she didn't pick. She didn't pick between them. She picked herself.
She picked herself. I didn't know yourself
over them.
I didn't think yourself was an option. That's why you on this show, because you pick yourself so many times. Anyway, right? Oh, you picked the wrong one. Anyway, let us know what you thought of this episode of The One. Did Ashley make the correct decision? And who would you chose? Did Brent make the right decision? Or who should Brent chose Richie? Well, only time will tell. Your thoughts?
You know me. I felt like it shouldn't have come down to Ashley and Richie.
You a Melissa fan?
Not a Melissa fan, but I felt like he was connected to her more. But again, it's a TV show. They don't show you everything that's filmed. They kind of show you to kind of lead you in a certain way. Yeah. But they must have had more of a connection than it looked like. And then, like I told you, the little backbiting and snide comments and stuff she used to make, I wouldn't have.
Well, Ashley J and Ashley picked the two picks are Ashley J and Ashley. All right, y'all let us know what you think. Thanks for watching with us. Thanks for rocking with us. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. Leave your comment in the comment section below. And we appreciate you watching. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.